Yo, what's up, my dudes? You already know, we're back at it again with another video. So we got a few things for the hatch that we're working on. I did get a throttle body gasket. I also got, I sent in my old B17 injectors that came out of the B17 when I originally got it, before I rebuilt it. I sent those out to Chris Moo, so you can get them cleaned up. We can put them in this. Basically, they were clean before he cleaned them, and they're even better after. So he said there was really no issue with them. So we're gonna put those in there. We got the throttle body gasket, so that's good. So the engine will be buttoned up basically. Well, we'll do that before the engine goes in. But what this video is gonna be focused on is getting the bay cleaned and getting the harness installed. So we're gonna be pulling back all this wiring and cleaning the bay, getting it cleaned up. I mean, you can see how filthy it is. We're gonna make it look nice, try to make it look as clean as possible. I'm gonna get in there and hopefully this paint looks better than this paint, but either way, I hope it just looks good so we can get the bay kind of clean. So we're gonna be installing the harness, cleaning the bay, and installing the wideband. It's really nice that this car is strictly a race car, because we have all this space and all this room to do whatever we need to with the harness. Like, I never realized without the blower motor and all this stuff that's underneath here, how much actual space is in here. There is a fuck ton. We're gonna get this thing all set up, get it looking nice, get the harness in. Yeah, hopefully if we can get the harness in and get the motor trans together and installed in this video, that'd be great. But depending on how long it takes or how much video there is, we'll see what happens. But we're gonna get cracking. I'm gonna start pulling the mounts. I wanna pull the mounts off so that I can just, you know, fully clean the bay. And then I'm gonna get rid of some of the stuff we don't need, like AC condenser fan relay and plug. This stuff, this is actually its own harness. It comes up into here and then it goes into the chassis. That can actually all be pulled out as one piece. So that'll be completely gone. And we'll just have the necessities, the regular fan switch or fan wires plug, which is this one here. And then literally just everything else that needs to be there basically. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started, pull the mounts, and get the bay clean. I got the mounts out. That one's freaking difficult because of that rear bolt is so close to the firewall here. Yeah, that was a pain. But I'm gonna start pulling this extra harness stuff that we don't need out, and then we can start cleaning. Now that we have all the harness basically disconnected from this side, this is the condenser fan harness, and it runs to an fuse in the ECU box. Right here it says condenser fan, 15 amp, this plug right here. Once we get that plug out, we're pretty much golden. Take this harness the rest of the way out. Now that's separate from the engine harness. This whole piece right here, relay and plugs, can all be taken out. And then we still have fan relay here, or headlight relay, I believe. I think it's fan or headlight. And we have the, oh no, fan relays here, and the plug for the fan is right here. So. Okay, now with this all good, we can pull this out, and I'm going to show you inside where it goes. So that AC condenser fan are these plugs here. These can all be unplugged this one, and this one to the sub harness right here can be unplugged, and then this can all come out. I'm gonna leave the grommet in there in case we need to do anything with it, but all of this stuff is Gucci to go. Now, even though I pulled the headlight harness off, I'm not removing the headlight harness. I'm just pulling it back so that I can clean the bay. Once I clean the bay, I'll run it back and put it all back, because I'm pretty sure he still wants that stuff. So I'm gonna put that back on, but I'm gonna finish taking off the driver's side headlight harness and any of the brackets. I need to remove those just so we can get the bay clean fully. So this was also the old map sensor and purge solenoid for the OBD0 system. This stuff isn't being used at all. So this will all come off as well. The canister is gonna stay so that we can take any of the vapor from the tank and give it to the engine. But yeah, this is all coming off. I'm gonna pull all that off. Once I have this off, we'll look at it, and then poof, it'll be clean. I got everything basically removed that I'm gonna be removing, and everything left is gonna be left. So it's time to clean the bay. You ready? Oh fuck, I forgot to say the magic words. Alright, we back, and the bay is clean. You know, for the most part. Shit. Got on different clothes, I ain't no work like that. Shit. But anyways, so I got the bay mostly clean. I mean, as clean as I could. I didn't have any degreaser, I don't have water, so I just used some brake clean. Didn't want to, it's all I had. As you can see, it's taking some of the paint off. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna use as little as possible, and that's what I did basically. We got all the axle grease off of the rear subframe. It looks substantially cleaner than it used to. Although it's not perfect, it is a lot cleaner. So it's time to get cracking with this harness. I'm gonna run the headlight harness back, and I'm going to start cutting into the factory harness. Pull everything back like usual. That's been on the channel a couple times. You've seen it, so pretty much self-explanatory. We're just gonna dive into it. I already got the driver's side headlight harness ran. I'm probably going to cut all this back and see where this goes, and then separate it and have its own headlight harness. That way, if they want to do anything to it, they can change it, do whatever they need to do it. And this is also the fan harness. So I'm gonna just separate this, see how far back it goes, and then we'll go from there. So you can see all this stuff runs into the fuse box, and we'll have to unplug all of these. And you can see this used to be the stock map sensor and purge solenoid that were on the firewall here. These would be going bye-bye, so we can basically cut these out or just pull them in and leave them inside, but this plug won't be used. The harness comes with the plug on it, so I have to unplug all these, cut this back, pull it in, put the fuse box inside. Fuse box is out. Sweet, everything's separated for the most part. This is the purge and map sensor, which can all be taken off, but I'm going to leave them on for now. Then we've got all the other plugs that we need to go back inside. These go to the fuse box and to plug into the main harness. And then this is the headlight harness, which I'm going to retape once we're ready. But I'm going to take this grommet off real quick, get all the tape under here, and then we can pull everything back inside. Now you can see the only two things left in the bay are the headlight harness and the harness for the windshield wiper motor. This stuff can all be taped up right now and ran, and then be good. And then we can start doing the stuff on the inside. So I'm gonna tape that quick and we can get started on that. Alright, so real quick, I'm wiring up, I'm taping up the headlight harness, and I got to the fan wiring and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna need a plug. And I was like, man, might as well mount the fan on the radiator. That's an EG rad, and that's supposed to be an EG rad fan right here. And it wouldn't bolt up. Only one of the 4 mounting posts would bolt up. So I talked to Euro, I talked to Frito. We're gonna get a slim fan, hopefully, get something that works. And then we're not gonna use the factory wiring, so I'm just gonna chop and dead end this, or leave the plug in case they want to do the factory stuff, because I'd rather not cut the harness. So I'll probably just get this nice and tidy so that if they want to ever go to the factory stuff again, they can. I'll leave that up to them to cut. So, but we'll be putting the new fan on a switch because they got a switch panel coming. So that'll be great. I don't think it'll ever be a streetcar again, but I really don't want to cut that. I'd rather, leave it. But if they ever decide to use the fan with the stock style thing again, they can. But so I'm gonna get like a base of wiring, I guess, and run it to where the HVAC controls were, because they have a plate. They're gonna have a switch panel, and I'm gonna run them some wire to get that going. But yeah, I'm just not gonna cut that. I can loom the wire, have it dead end, whenever they get the fan here, then when we mount it, we can run it in and be all set. But we're ready to move on to the harness, so we're gonna get chopping on that. Alright, so there's a lot more space to work under here. Thankfully, they took everything out, so this car is basically just straight race car for now. So this makes it really nice, but also really apparent that I want to make it clean. So, because you're gonna be looking at all this, you want to see nothing but like very nice. So what I'm going to do is, this is the TPS and the purge. I'm not worried about that. I'm gonna get that out the way. But I'm going to tape up everything singularly. So like this piece will be taped as it is. This piece will be taped as it is. And like so far, and so on, so forth and so on, whatever that saying is. So I'm gonna get that done, and then I'm going to plug everything in and see where it wants to lay and try and route it so that it's a lot cleaner, it looks a lot better. Because you're gonna be seeing all this. This is all open. So I want it to be clean, It's kinda when you're doing work like this and you want it to show how well you take your job seriously, like you want to show how much passion or whatever you put into it, and you want to make it look nice. So I want to make this look really good, and I really just want it to look clean so that people can see when it comes to me and when I'm doing the work, I take it seriously, and it's it's my job. So yeah, let's go. So I'm sure you guys don't want to see all this taping, so I'm just gonna get this stuff done, and we will catch back up right after when we're plugging it all in, see where it wants to lay. Alright guys, we got this all taped up. It's looking pretty good. So I'm going to plug in the harness, unplug the ECU, plug into the sub harness here, and then see where the fuse box wants to lay, see where the rest of these connectors and stuff want to lay, and then I can kind of route them so they're a little bit cleaner. And make this look pretty nice under here. I did cut off the map sensor that was on the firewall and the purge solenoid, and then I just dead-ended them with some heat shrink so that if there's any voltage on it, it's not grounding and shorting and nothing like that. So those are dead-ended, so that's good. And then yeah, so I'm gonna get the fuse box plugged in, see where it lays, yada yada yada. Let's see what happens. Sweet. So the fuse box is plugged in. The only thing we need to plug in is the alternator wire, which I have to pull from the other harness so we can utilize that. And then we're gonna have to make a power wire from the battery to the fuse box, because you can grab the charge harness, but we should be able to make one with what we have. I have some extra wire. I can extend the current one. That way we can have one. But this looks pretty good. Looks like it's gonna dial in pretty well. I'm gonna get the harness plugged in and start weighing this out. This is the sub harness that connects the OEM connectors and stuff to the rest of the harness. So let me feed that through the wall and we'll see what it looks like. Sweet. So we have the plugs. This plug here will plug into this like that. And now the engine harness is connected to the sub harness. And then these will plug into the ECU when we have the ECU. My S300's right over there. I just have to put a base map on it. But we'll be covering that in another video. So I'm just gonna try and figure out how to make this look clean without making it look weird. Okay, so with the monotech harness that we did on the white car, there's a plug for this, but every color on this plug is also located on the plug on the passenger side firewall, and that is this piece, and it extends over to it. So we don't even need this plug. So I'm contemplating either cutting it out and dead ending it, or just zip tying it up out of the way. I've never cut this out, but it looks like we don't need it, and I'd rather make it cleaner. I don't want to cut it and then it mess anything up though. I don't think it would, because it's not plugged in. So it's not like anything is coming off of this anyway. So I might just cut this out, dead end it all, and then tape up all this to make it look nice. But yeah, this plug is not used on this with this conversion harness. It is used in the monotech harness. It's got a plug for it, but everything on this plug is on that plug that's over on that side. And so I don't think that this is actually needed. Alright, so I actually cut that plug off, because I mean it's just gonna sit around and not be used anyway, so I figure we don't need it. I cut it and I dead ended all the plugs. I'm gonna tape this into the harness so you don't even know that it's there. And then I can route this piece to there, and then the harness is basically wired in. All we have to do is get the alternator plug and the plug to the battery to give the power to the fuse box, and then we're basically done with the harness. We have to install the wideband, which is on the roof, and then we're basically golden, and then we can get to the engine install. I have to fix the strip bolt holes on the back of the trans, and then it can go in. I'm gonna clean it up though, make it look nice. But yeah, so this is basically done. I'm gonna tape that up. I'm going to get the grommet in and get this plugged in, routed, and then we'll see what it looks like when it's all fresh and clean. All right, my light is dying here, but we are all good. Everything is kind of zip tied up out of the way, so everything is good zip tied. I found a way to like kind of mount the fuse box on the firewall using one of the clips for, I'm assuming, the dashboard, but it worked. So yeah, that's gonna be like mounted up there. Probably doesn't shake around too much, but it should be solid. It shouldn't come off. Only thing we need to do is get the power and the alternator wire to the fuse box and put the grommet on and wire the wideband. We're Gucci. So I got this to try to line up as good as possible so that this would kind of like feed into the ECU how factory would, so the ECU can sit on these tabs, and the cover, this plate, can go right back over top of the ECU like this. That way it's covered, it looks OEM, the ECU is wired in, you know. This will be behind here like this, and it'll just look like almost OEM. Everything's kind of sort of clean. Like there's a lot of extra wiring that you could take out and make it look way better, like way better. Like, I'm trying to do the best I can with what I have. The harness is made to a certain length, so, and it's like the routing is weird. I gotta like loop stuff, which is kind of odd, but it's good. It's OBD1. It's, you know, it's gonna work, and it looks fairly clean. So once we have the ECU in, we can put this plate back on and keep that covered so that it doesn't get damaged. But now we can start on wiring the wideband and getting the power wire from the battery and from the alternator in here. All right, so we have to repurpose this alternator wire because this is the charge harness. We don't have to do anything with the alternator plug itself, but we do need this cable right here for the alternator to plug into the fuse box. One end is here, the other end is here. We just have to take it out of the harness and plug it in the fuse box. And you just cut it until you get it out. Now that it's out, we could tape it or we could put it in loom. I'm gonna actually put it in some loom because I have loom that should cover this, so we can make it kind of look kind of nice. Okay, so I have all this loom over here that I got from my previous job. It is not very big. I think it's a quarter, but it's big enough for this. I loomed it up so it looks nice. Terminated the ends so it looks better. This can be fed into the wall and plugged into the fuse box, and then we just have to make a power wire from the battery in the chassis to the fuse box. Okay, that alternator wire is plugged into the fuse box. It's on the right side. The power from the battery goes to this fuse on the left, so we just got to make that. That will be made out of the rest of the harness for the battery that we got, that goes to the starter. So the power goes from the battery here to the starter right there, and then this is supposed to go to the fuse box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it here. Whoops. I'm going to cut it here and splice in a long piece of, I think I have extra wire over here. I've got all this thick, really thick stuff. I think I could use this, splice this in maybe. It's a little bit thicker, but we'll see. But I'm gonna try and splice that into here so that this fits into the end chassis. And then we can have a power wire for the battery in the fuse box. Oh, that's a lot smaller. Okay, I think I have some of this gauge wiring over in my box. Yep, got some right here. So we're going to put this together, solder it possibly, because I have solder and heat. Throw some heat shrink on it, seal it, and then we'll route this inside, see how long it needs to be, connect this end to the end of that, make that look nice, seal it, yada yada yada. Boom, be done. So I got it soldered, connected, terminated, loomed up. Now this is ready to go straight into the chassis and bolt up to the fuse box. All right, so we've got both the power wires from the alternator and the battery to the fuse box. We got the harness in. We're now going to be hooking up the wideband. It's an Aem. I don't know if it's a Series X or what, but it's one that he used to run. He actually pulled it out of another car. He said it still works. We got a new sensor there too, so we just got to hook it up. This is pretty self-explanatory. Red's power, black's ground, and white is the signal to the ECU. So I'll have to run that to the ECU. Usually in the ECU I specify B6 because that can read 0 to 5 volts, which gives you the full 10 to 20 AFR reading. So I'm going to wire that into B6 on the Rywire harness plug. I'll just depin it. I have extra pins that I can connect on here, and then we can plug it into the ECU, and then we'll have signal for the wideband. But on the fuse box, we have to find, there's a pin, one of these two pins up here. We have to find which one has ignition power, which I can just look on his car and his car because they ran the same way, and just see which one that I used on those cars, because they're both DXs, but still EF, and it's basically the same fuse box. It is the same fuse box. So I'll just check on here, and then I'll be able to wire in the wideband. Okay, so Wideband eventually is going to go here. There's going to be a switch panel. This is where the switch for the fan is going to go as well. So we're going to have it semi around this area, the gauge anyways, and then we'll have to tie up the wires until they get actually like mounted on the board, mounted on the thing that they made, the switch panel. But we're going to be able to wire that into the fuse box. So grab my light real quick. A little bit hard to see, but there's two pins right there. The one on the left is ignition power. So I'm going to run the power for that to, I'm stealing a 5 amp fusible link from the radio. This will help if there's a surge or anything. It won't blow the sensor or the gauge. I'm going to steal that, wire that into here so that we have fusible link, and then run that across to the power, and then probably ground it on the chassis so that we can have our wideband ready, and then all I gotta do is pin it, plug for the ECU, and then we'll be golden. Alright, boom. So I have this fuse that I reused from the radio. The fuse is still good, fusible link. So we have the power, goes over to the wideband, which will be here. I got some slack, so it'll be mounted in this area somewhere, and it has a whole bunch of slack, so we'll be good here. And then I got the ground. I actually got the ground rounded over here. This is touching this bare metal, which is touching metal, which is touching the frame. I'm sure that this will be a good ground, but we'll see. If not, I'll have to move it, but it seems like it should be a good ground. So we got power, we got ignition power, we got ground, and now I just have to get one of my pins and pin it to B6 on the ECU plugs. Alright, it's looking pretty good, guys. Alright, I've got power, ground, obviously. The sensor's right here. White transitions down into green, which goes into the B6. So that's signal for the wideband. So this is going to mount like somewhere in this area. So it has all the play it needs, and then anything extra can be zip tied up. This is the wire that plugs into the actual sensor. I haven't mounted the sensor in yet, but I'm gonna have to run the sensor through the firewall and then because I want to put this grommet back on so it looks nice. You know, all the wires coming out of this grommet right here on the firewall. So I want to put this back on, which I'm going to, but I'm not going to be able to feed the wideband plug through this after this is on. So I'm going to feed it through real quick and zip tie it somewhere so that it doesn't get damaged or smacked or banged around or anything like that. And then see how it looks with the plug in place. So this is what it looks like now. I think I might just cut this back some because, I mean, it just looks weird. And I don't want to tape it up because if they need to like pull something or pull the harness or do something, unraveling the tape is kind of a fucking pain. So I'm just gonna cut some of this back, still keep it like somewhat so that it kind of seals. And then, I mean, obviously there's other holes in here, but they're gonna get those sealed up. But yeah, I'm gonna cut this back some and then see what it looks like. Looks alright. Everything is basically done with the wiring. Harness is installed, wideband's installed. Power harness and charge harness, both charge harnesses are good and ready to go. I'm gonna wipe down the base some more just to get it a little bit more clean. I'm gonna get that looking a little bit more fresh. And then I'll adjust how much wiring needs to come out after the engine's in. I like to get the Rywire tag showing, but mine is like out more, and then this one could be in more, but we'll see how it goes. But looking at the harness, it always looks fantastic. Ground, VSS, if it has a electric VSS instead of a cable, because this one has a cable. It's EF, they all have cable. Fan control, which this would be on the thermostat, but there isn't one on the thermostat. H2O, which is coolant, which goes on the dash, is that single plug. Reverse lights, if it has electric reverse, which It's a race car. It doesn't see the street anymore, so it doesn't even need it, but we'll see if we can get a electric one. Nah, we'll try and get an electric one. I don't want to cut the harness. VTEC solenoid, if it goes VTEC. Starter. We got distributor plugs. And then on this set, we have knock sensor if you're utilizing that. Intake air temp. TPS, idle air control valve, map sensor. We have oil pressure. We have 2 extras for essentially if you want to add in. These 2 extras are chopped inside the harness. They're waiting to be added in at any point. O2 sensor if you're using a stock O2 right here. Alternator, and then injectors 1, 2, 3, and 4. Labeled pretty good. So I'm excited. This thing is coming together pretty nice. We are putting in the fan on the switch because they have a switch panel, so this isn't going to be used, this piece right here. So I don't want to cut it because if they ever do want to go back to it, I'm just gonna zip tie it together here and kind of like tuck it. But it still can be used, but as if they want to. Starter is there, power for the battery is there. Everything's pretty good. Harness is in, man. We're ready to roll. We still have yet to fix the 2 bolt holes on the transmission. Then we have to just put the flywheel clutch on and bolt up the transmission, and we're good to go. And good to put it in, and then bolt the base map on S300. He actually picked up an S300, so he's not going to be using mine, but he's going to be bringing that. We're actually swapping in a B2 cam as well. This is a B1, and the difference between the B1 and the B2 is 20 horsepower roughly, and the cam makes the difference. So that's at least what we've been reading. So we're gonna throw a B2 cam in this. Stock valve springs. It's not like it's gonna be some crazy lift or duration cam, so we shouldn't float or anything, but it should give it a little more pep. And definitely get it into the 14s for sure. So that's great. Let's get it popping. I'm excited, man. I want to see this thing in the 14s. Well, guys, this might be a shorter video. I'm not actually sure if I'm gonna put this video with the install of the motor. I might, depending on how long this video is. If it's short, I'll add in us putting the motor in, and then the last video will be getting the base map on it, explaining how to set up a base map with Honda S300, and then dyno, same video, or next video might just be motor, startup, how to set up a base map, and then a dyno video, because he's got 2 weeks until he wants to be to an event, and he wants to test the car before the event. So we have basically the rest of this week to get the motor in, get the base map on, and schedule some dyno time so that we can hit the dyno early next week, hopefully, get to the track that Friday, and then basically the event is like the next week. So that's literally all the time we have. So I don't know if I'm gonna put, again, I don't know if I'm gonna put it in this video. We might install the motor in this video if this is a short video. So yeah, if we're installing the motor in this video, I'll catch you on the next clip. And if we're not installing it, I'll check y'all later. Deuces.